Now, whew, the first segment was heavy. Okay, it was but necessary. But I don't just want to talk at you tonight. I want to talk to you. Okay, because here's what I believe. I believe some of the most powerful revelations come through real life testimonies. I'm just of the opinion that real powerful revelations come through real life testimony. So I want to invite someone to come on stage with me and help us unpack this idea of the new north. Thank you, Lisa. Lisa has read the book. I want to unpack this idea of the new life, a little new north a little further. Brittany's about to call in a minute. She don't want to get on camera with me. So she said she wasn't ready for camera tonight, but she's going to call in. And I do want to hear part of her story. I want to give her an opportunity to talk because her story is so powerful. It really is. But I want to talk about this journey because if we are being honest, Israel's trip from Egypt to the promised land should have only taken 8 days. Let me say that again. Okay, I'm ready now. Yeah, it really should have only taken 8 days, but you know how long it ended up taking? It ended up taking 40 years, right? Because sometimes God doesn't take us the quick way. Sometimes he takes us the safe way because he knew that if they had gone the quick way, they would have saw the giants and they would have went back to Egypt because we have a tendency of going with the familiar whenever we face fear. And when you continue to go with what you know, I'm ready, Brittany, whenever you are. When you continue to go with what you know, you will always end up where you were. Right. So he says, I'm not going to take you the quick way. I'm going to take you through the wilderness because there's some things in the wilderness that I've got to get out of you. And if they had seen, here it is. I'm getting my call now. Let me get it. Let me get my call. Here we go. All right. Brittany, you there? Hello? All right, cool. Let me get you on. Let me get you on 1 second, please. I got to share. I'm not as good at this as you are. Hold on. Hold on. All right, when I bring Brittany on, y'all, I want y'all to let me know if y'all can hear her or not. All right, so let me do this. Get her phone. All right, cool. All right, so y'all, Brittany, say hello so I can make sure everybody can hear you.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
All right, if y'all can hear Brittany,
I'm trying to let me.
go ahead. If y'all can hear her, drop one in the chat. Y'all go ahead. You
Can
should be good.
everybody hear me? I would have came on, but no, I wasn't ready.
I want us to collaborate on
Okay.
something for real, Brittany. Somebody. Oh, yeah, okay, okay. Lisa said they can hear you because honestly, I've come.
Okay, good.
Let me tell you something. I, I I watch social media, you know what I'm saying, but I'm not drawn to much, you know what I'm saying, because there's a lot of bull stuff out here. And I watch people,
Mm-hmm.
but when I
Correct.
watch them, I read their writings, but I also listen to their minds, right? Because I figured that what you put on the end of your pen is the sum total of your thoughts, your mind, you know, and you're so transparent. And like I said, and so I started to admire you by
Absolutely.
watching you. And I said, man, she's raw as I don't know what. But the first time I came in your inbox, even though you got all these followers, you have all these viral videos, I asked you a question about my podcast. And man, Brittany started sending me agreements, sponsor agreements. She started sending me all these templates trying to tell me how to build my podcast and didn't know me from
Right.
Adam. And I appreciate that. And I never will. I haven't used it yet, but I appreciate you. And I want to say
No
that.
problem.
Yeah. All right. So talk to me now.
No
Now that
problem at
we've
all.
had this conversation, now that you've heard 30, 40 minutes of this conversation, you've heard what a new North is. How does that resonate or how do you relate to that?
Well, I would say it resonates to me it resonates to my childhood. It resonates coming up as a teenager. It resonates in my adult life because learning lesson never stops. It doesn't stop. Um, there was a time that I didn't want to be here anymore. Um, it was a time that I felt like I had nothing left to give and nobody to call. Um, I tried to take my own life. It's like I was done, but God wasn't. God was not done with me. And it was a time I woke up in the hospital room. I had IVs in my arm, pain in my chest, in tears. I just didn't know what they was there for. I didn't understand what was happening. But the first person that I saw at the time was my granny, and God knew at that moment like who to send because He knew who had always like made me feel safe. And even when I wanted to let go, He held me tighter. Like at that time in my life, I was broken, jobless. I was pregnant and didn't know I was. They didn't tell me till after, I was getting ready to go home that I'm pregnant. So just imagine trying to take your life in, finding out that you're pregnant. But God let me know. He whispered, like, you're not finished yet. And I mean, let me tell y'all something. I didn't grow because life got easier. Like, I grew because God gave me the strength to stand, like, in the fire, like, and not be consumed by it. That's why I grew. There was days like I couldn't see the light. I'm talking about I didn't want to get up. I didn't want to do my hair, brush my teeth, wash my face, wash my butt. I literally sat in misery for months, like literally for months. I sat in misery for so many months that my baby was failure to thrive. I mean, he wasn't growing, I wasn't growing, and it's about to bring tears to my eyes now because in that moment back then, I was trying to be a mother to someone, but my own mother was not a mother to me. And I love my mother to death. We have a great relationship now, but back then she was battling herself. So imagine a kid that was used to getting her butt beat, getting called out her name, and different things like that. Now I'm having to be a mother to something I don't even know what it is. I don't know how to be a mother. And now they telling me my son not growing. So I mean, I went through all of that, and I still knew that God was there because in the back of my mind or the back in my gut, like it was something that was giving me strength. It was something that was making me get up. It was something that was saying you can't give up. It was something that was saying I know your mother wasn't a good mother, but you got to try to be a good mother to this child. You got to, and I want to recant, not a good mother, but she just it was things that she was battling with that held her from being a nicer person to me. You know what I mean? Um, so like I said, I'm not here because I was strong. I'm not here because it was just me. My name Brittany, and I just wanted to survive. It wasn't me. That was God. Because I'm telling you, it was days I could not get up. I didn't want to get up. So my thing is, and that's just like the beginning of when I started realizing that God is real. If you don't believe in God, you better believe in Him now because how are you getting through this? And then I started going through relationships. And then relationships just wasn't no good. But I'm steady going back to these relationships trying to find that love that I wasn't getting. And guess what? God was still there. You know what I mean? Like, okay, this not working, but God here. You just had a fight with this man. He probably about to go to jail. All this other type of stuff. And y'all, how are you getting through it? And then, I get older and now I'm an adult. Now I got two, three kids. And again, I'm in situations where I'm stealing. I'm in these stores trying to provide for my kids because this man not helping me provide for my kids, which is no excuse. But I didn't know how to take care of my kids financially. One of them sick, not to mention have sickle cell. I didn't say that, but he was in the hospital and out the hospital so much to the point I couldn't even keep a job. But again, God was there. I know God was there because how am I getting through this? So I found myself with a charge from stealing, and that made me sit down. Either you finna be a good mama to these kids, or you finna go your ass to jail. Excuse me, you finna go to jail. That's what's finna happen. Like you're going to jail, or you finna sit down. With you choose. So that's when I had to sit down for 9 years. In 9 years, I was in probation. I had to pay these people all this money every month, or I'm going to jail. And so I had to sit there and I had to find ways to make money. And again, I was thinking like, if I can't go find a job, because they're not going to hire me because I got this stuff from my background. So now what do? And I tell you not, I bullcrap you not. My first year opening up my own business, selling chocolate covered strawberries, I made over $18,000 in a year. And that's when, I mean, I hadn't been to college. I don't know how to, handle my finances at the time. This was all just me figuring it out. That was God. I mean, there's no other way to put that. That was God. After 9 years of being on probation and, making it work with the strawberries and stuff, I got my Class B license. Eventually got my Class A license. But the whole time, I'm still trying to figure it out. But I'm still getting myself into these situationships that are causing me to still be put into situations where I'm still learning. But without them lessons, you don't get no blessings. And I had to keep going through what I was going through to get these blessings. And even though moving forward in today, and I am writing a book, I'm currently writing a book about like everything that I've been through. So what I'm talking about right now is kind of like skipping past, fast forward everything. But what I will say is it has not been easy. It hasn't been easy at all. And it's like I say, I go through ups and downs with depression, anxiety, stress, all of that type of stuff, and I always try to figure out like how am I getting through it. But the only person I know, I mean, it's no other way to explain it but God. So the only thing I can say is to the ones that are listening is to keep on doing what you have to do to listen to what God's trying to tell you because that's the only way that you're going to get through it because you're not going to get through it by trying to put your faith into men. That's the biggest mistake I could have ever made, putting my faith into men. And when I say men, I'm talking about biblically. That's men, that's women, that's humans. Putting your faith into humans. I mean, it's not going to work that way. God has to be the first person that you call on to every day, every night. And that's how you're going to get through what you need to get through. And that's what I've learned. So, I know that this is your show and I've been and took over, but that's my story. That's a little bit of my story, and that's just me letting everybody know like this is some of the things that I've went through and I've gotten through and still going through.
But don't you can't take over anything somebody invited you to. Okay, you were invited on the show,
I know.
so,
I'm
so
just
you ain't
saying.
know nothing.
I'm just saying.
I won't. I invited you here,
Yeah.
so we good on that. But I'm gonna ask you a question though. At what point do you
Go
feel like
ahead.
God said enough? It's time to change direction. And was it when you caught the charge?
I really don't. I feel like God said it was enough when I tried to commit suicide
Okay.
in October of 2017, and I
Okay.
feel like that because that's when I started. That's when I started to kind of say, you know what, I want to start going to church. I want to get more into God. Like, even though I kept making mistakes, even after I was woke back then, you know
Hmm.
what I mean? I started to figure it out. Like, okay, I need to go to God because anytime something would happen, I'm calling on God. Versus before then, I didn't care. I remember cussing out old people. I mean, old people on canes. I didn't care.
You're
I
cussing out.
didn't care about adults because my mama didn't. I feel like my mama didn't give me a reason to care about adults. So
I
before then,
understand.
I didn't care. I had
Yeah,
no care for nobody, no respect for nobody, and I'm not playing.
I
I
believe
did
it.
not care. So I feel like once I had my baby, or I found that I was pregnant with my baby, and I did try to commit suicide, I think that's when I figured out that God was there and wasn't leaving.
And I really appreciate the fact that you recognize God even in your I'm gonna call it a wilderness because I'm churchy, and this is
Hmm.
another thing I want to give you credit for, and don't miss this. But when we're in the wild, I went to college at University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff back in 1990. I was a freshman. Jarvis, you were around then.
Okay.
You remember we had a biology professor, Jarvis, by the name of David Dedrick. And David Dedrick, on the first day of school, he would always, and the first day of class, he would ask us, what made us human beings. And as bright-eyed, bushy-tailed freshmen, we know because we have circulatory systems and respiratory systems. We're trying to get these scientific answers. And he said something very powerful to me, that stuck with me all these years. He said, "What makes us human beings is our abilities to adapt." And see, the thing
Hmm.
about it, Brittany, is when you go through the wilderness, you're going to adapt anyway, but it's wise to develop wilderness tactics, right? See, it's certain kind of lilies that only grow
Absolutely.
in the valley. So, I went through an
Hmm.
extended struggling season, but I came out of it with 2 degrees. You know what I'm saying? I'm struggling, but I'm like, you know what? While I'm down, I'm at least going to get these degrees. So when you
Hmm.
went through what you went through, that's why you didn't suffer through it, you suffered to it. That's why it was so easy to sell strawberries and make 18,000 chocolate covered strawberries and make $18,000. And that's why
Yes,
while you're
sir.
down, you go get the class B, the class B, the class A. Now you're driving, you're making the money you need to make, you do, because God puts things in stages and he works you through. And I'm gonna tell you the most powerful statement you made tonight for me, you know, because you made some powerful statements. But what was more powerful than anything, because you hadn't been listening the last few weeks, but I've been teaching about grace for about probably the last couple of months. And I watched how, even though
Mm.
you have this relationship that you have with your mama, even though you said there were certain things that didn't go right coming up, you kept on giving your mama grace. You couldn't even get a bad word out without trying to correct it to say, well, no, she did this, because you're able to give her
Right.
grace. That's when you're healed. When you're able to look at a
Mm-hmm.
scar, know that it was once a sore, but you don't feel any pain associated with the scar anymore because it don't hurt no more. And now that you
Exactly.
realize, talk to me. I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. You go ahead. Tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Well, I was gonna say, no, you're absolutely right, and I wanted to say that that came with a lot of prayer. It came with a lot of self awareness type of tactics. Like I literally had to sit there and figure it out. Like, hey, I'm a mother. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. She's my mother. I know she's not perfect. She made mistakes. Her mom made mistakes, and I know what my mother went through as a upgrowing kid as well. She also talked about some of her struggles. She was molested, and
Wow.
her mother allowed the same man that molested her to still live with them.
Mm,
And I love my mama, so I think I feel sorry for her in a way, but at the same time, it doesn't take away the wounds that she caused to me, very bad wounds.
yeah.
But at the same time, like you said, I'm healed to the point enough to where I don't want to hold on to that. I don't want to, and I know we're promised death. If we're not promised nothing else, we promised death. And I don't want my mama to leave this earth and I'd be like, well, I wish I would have went ahead and made it work, or I don't want to go through that.
Yeah.
I don't want to go through that. I'm done with that. And then at the end of the day, God says we're supposed to forgive everybody.
Yeah.
And who am I to not forgive her when I know one day I'm probably gonna need forgiveness from my own kids?
Yes, Lord.
So I just don't want to go through that. But I literally been praying so hard on my book because I don't think I left nothing out.
Okay.
And that's the one struggle that I do struggle with because I'm like, I hope that she understands when this book does come out because it may be some things in there that she didn't want to come out, but it's my story.
Yeah.
It's my testimony.
Yeah.
And I hope that she can understand because when it comes down to it, why do sometimes the abusers, and I'm talking about just people who get raped, whatever, the abusers often get mad. Like,
Yeah.
why would you say that? Why would you put that out? But this is my story, and why come I can't help someone else heal? That's
Yeah.
what this is about. It's about helping other people, and that's what I want to do.
Well, you
That's exactly what I want to do, and
you were
what I'm
supposed to
going
be
to
on this
do.
show tonight. You were supposed to be because I have that same testimony. There were certain things that I was scared to write in my book. And you know who ended up reading
Mm,
the book first? One of the people that I was afraid of hurting. And I watched her read and I saw tears
mm-hmm.
come to her eyes. But all she looked at me and said was, you got to be prepared because some people might not like you after they read your book. And I said,
Yeah.
Mama, and that's what I was talking about at that time. I said, Mama, but she wasn't an abuser because, like, I'm like you, Brittany. You know, parenting is on the job training. Sometimes we get it wrong, especially as young parents. You know what I'm saying? Women, what model do we have
Mm-hmm.
other than the one we saw before us? And then we try to, sometimes we raise in opposition to how we were raised because we don't want to be like that. So I get it, I get it, I
Mm-hmm.
get it. But she read it and she bought it. She tried to pay me for it. I gave it to her, but she tried to pay me for it, and we made it through it. Like you said, it's your story. You can prepare her for it, you know what I'm saying, and let her know, hey, this is what's going on with it. Because you said something very powerful, and I'm going to let you go. But you said something very powerful just a minute ago. I think a lot of people missed it if they wasn't listening to what you said. You said, I'm healed enough now. Some people think that they
Mm-hmm.
got to be completely healed. They don't think that healing happens in stages, but really sometimes you really want to be healed enough to go to the next phase. You feel what I'm saying? Because I tell
Yeah,
people now, you
absolutely.
know, if you were in bad relationships and you're ready to go into a new relationship, you'll never know how really healed you are until you go into your next relationship and you face another trigger. So
Hmm.
you have to be healed enough to go forward. And you said you're healed enough now to give your mom that grace, and that's powerful, man. That give when especially when you realize that you've been given grace, it's easier to give grace. And I appreciate that. God kept you here for a reason. And I hope you stick around. I hope we get a chance to collaborate on something soon. Because like I said,
Absolutely.
you got a powerful testimony. And as soon as you write your book, please come here and let us talk about it. Let us help you promote it or do whatever we can to help you get it out there. Okay. But
I sure will.
appreciate you,
Thank
Brittany. I'm
you.
not gonna hold you tonight, but thank you for your testimony. Y'all do me a favor, give Brittany some love, put some
No
hearts in the
problem.
comment. Y'all do something. Let Brittany know that we appreciate her. Good night, ma'am. All right, that was a powerful testimony. Thank you so much, Brittany, for coming on and for sharing. Listen, let me take her name off right there. I had her name on there. But if anybody else wants to come on and talk about their new north, I got a few more minutes. I'll give you about 10 more minutes. And I'm going to go to bed because it's gotten late in the evening and the sun has already gone down. Y'all, somebody else give Brittany some hearts. She needs that. She needs that. She has survived uh, the spirit of wanting to take unalive herself. That's very powerful. She's gotten to a place where she's forgiven her mother. She's paid her debt to society, and she is on her way northward. God told her to change her direction, and now she's moving in the right direction. And you know what? She's not the only one. She's not the only one. And somebody tonight or somebody in the future is going to hear her story, and they're going to resonate, and they're going to relate to her story, and her story is going to save somebody's life. Listen, somebody right now is alive because Brittany survived. Now I'm going to take Brittany's name out. I'm going to fill